Finance Committee meeting to order. The chair would entertain a motion on the consideration of claims.
Make a motion to pay consideration of claims of $606,776.54, which contains manual checks in the amount of $9,650.95, and checks written for payroll liabilities from July 11th through the 25th in the amount of $520,421.45 for a total of $1,136,848.94.
And I'll second. Any questions on the bills today?
None for me.
And I had none either. All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Any other business for us, Stephen?
Not really. I think we talked a little bit about the trash bill. We wish that was a lot lower than that, but
Jeez.
trash is trash.
Trash is trash.
Trash is expensive for some reason. All right. Well, I guess meeting adjourned.
Justice for all.
Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Guard.
Here.
Councilman Martin Canan.
Here.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Present.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Todd Smith.
Here.
Mayor Ron
And
Wortness.
I am present. Thank you. I declare that we have a quorum this evening. Got everyone here, and that's always good. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone that would like to address the council on an item that's not on the agenda? Please. If you can speak into the microphone and there you go, and identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Andy Javalakis.
Okay.
Okay, is that all you need? Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. I have, if I can approach the bench or the council, if you would, I've got some flyers to hand out.
Okay.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you. How are you? Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Sir?
Thank you.
Yeah, we're all right.
Okay, I'm amazed. Yes. Okay, Chief Broadhead, I will get back to you here in just a moment here about your department, okay? But before we get started here, I had the privilege of riding with some veterans from across the state, actually, and from the region, going to Lander with the Wyoming Thunder, okay? They've gone there 3 years in a row, and one of the things that I've seen, just by virtue of talking to all the people who come in, this last year there's 300 bikers that came in. I estimated they pumped in somewhere in the neighborhood of around, $75,000 to the local Lander economy, okay? Which is fine. Problem is now they also announced that they may not make a return trip to Lander, but they're also looking at Gillette, possibly Buffalo, and some have even mentioned Riverton. That's something I'd really like to address the council on, possibly moving back here where there's a, what do you call that? The Veterans Park with the walls right there. I'd like to propose saving some money and looking into moving that Veterans Wall to the city park and cage it with wiring or whatever like that, something protected. So when they show up, we can actually accommodate them what they need. They actually just literally want something to be seen out in public. And they want the rest of the community to join them. Okay, I'm not a member of them, but there's a guy by the name of Bill Moore, who's actually a patched member. I don't know much about biker members or whatever like that, but he does wear their patch like that, and he is here local. You need to visit with him. I'm sure he'd be happy to come in or maybe visit with you. But if you want to go ahead and read that, I kind of made a little, I don't know, trying to persuade you with the words I threw in there on findings that I had. Okay? And let's see. Okay. All right. The second thing I'd like to visit with you, if you have any questions, stop me. I'd be more than happy to answer it if I can.
Okay.
Second thing I had is with Chief Broadhead. If you remember me, June of 2012, yeah, about 26 months ago, one of the things that you had told me, sir, is that you weren't quite at full staff. When I presented the idea of having two motorcycles and beginning a motorcycle force, okay, in the effort just for preserving fuel. At the same time, there's a large contingent of motorcycle enthusiasts in the area. That's a good way to build a camaraderie between the city of Riverton and those in the area. I think it'd be a good idea. Plus, by having this may attract this group and other groups from around with the Wyoming Thunder and maybe others from around to actually come here and get maybe a ticker tape parade by having two motorcycle officers leading the parade on motorcycle police officers leading there with motorcycles. Okay. I don't know where you're at. You can hear me, can't you? Okay. I don't know where you're at with your staff. And I think last time we talked, I think you said you weren't quite fully staffed. Well, if you're very close to it, right now would probably be a good time to explore that. It would save fuel. It would actually save money for the taxpayer on the long run on that, okay? Let's see. And as I sent this out to you, I also received the EPA report for 2015, okay? And they're still claiming $5 a gallon this time next year. As I began to do a little bit more reading up on that, I emailed somebody in Washington about this report. They're saying because we have the crisis going on in the Middle East right now, at any time this whole thing could explode, we could actually be looking at $8 or $9 a gallon. The potential is there. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, you know what? Rather than sitting on my duff, I need to come and get someone's attention and say, let's start exploring at areas where we could actually help the community save money. You know? Let's see. Are there any questions? I know a couple of you weren't here in 2012 where I could actually address you about this, but you might have questions. I'd be more than happy to visit with you if there's anything you might have on mind.
Have you
Yes, Councilman Larson.
address him on if he's
Sure.
met with the VFW down? Have you met with the VFW
Yes, they actually ride with them.
here in Riverton?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It sounds like they're two completely different issues. The one with proposing that the police department get motorcycle policemen is a completely separate issue from the Vietnam Wall or the event. Is that not correct?
Well, it's actually one and the same, two different issues related with each other.
Well, I understand they're related by motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make that connection, but
But what I'm getting at is nowhere in the region, Colorado, in Denver, Montana, Billings and Helena, Utah, down in St. George, and I believe in Ogden, where they have the other one right there, nobody welcomes them in with motorcycle police. And I thought, what an opportunity right there.
Mm-hmm.
We could save fuel at the same time when we welcome them, rather than having a police cruiser.
sure. Okay. Okay, anyone else have, yes, Councilman Canan.
So do they do it at a certain time every year?
Yes, they try to focus on July. Last year they came on the weekend after the 4th of July, and it turned out to be kind of, well, a little tough situation because a lot of folks left for the weekend. They actually extended their weekend, so a lot of folks weren't there at the parade. This year, that wasn't the case, and there was probably, the streets were lined in Lander. And they like that. And again, when you look at these figures, what they actually pump in the economy, the lodging tax you collect from them, everything else like that, it's a win-win situation. I'm not going to guarantee you that they'll say, yeah, we'll pick Riverton if you get, if Chief Broadhead goes ahead and orders motorcycles and trains his officers for it, or that you actually move the wall and actually make it a mobile wall, moves at the park. I can't guarantee that they'll do that because I'm not a spokesman for them, nor am I a member, but I do know what they want. I've heard them talk, and I tell you what, if you do that, you probably will get their attention.
Your Honor,
Yes.
where do they
Fabian.
congregate in Lander?
Last year, I believe, was at the Best Western. Then they had a dinner there. Best Western, for some reason, they raised their prices on their meals. And it didn't really set well with some of them because when they reset these prices, they didn't bother to contact these guys after they finished up and got ready to go home. They notified them right after these guys left. It upset a few, which I could understand that. You know, if you want to come back, you want to know what to expect. And if we could get the Riverton Motel Association, the restaurant associations like that involved in on this, and we could actually build an attraction for these clubs, possibly get other clubs coming into Riverton like that. I know, you know, the potential is there where we could have 500 to 1,000 bikers, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 bikers. Okay. The thing is, though, you have to look at it with the economic costs, and you have to look at the kind of folks that you're bringing in. Kind, considerate veterans. Okay. And the only thing they want to do is recognize the fallen of the area, recognize each other, and recognize the veterans that we have here. And of course, they give out plaques to the mayor if he'll come and speak. They'll give out a plaque to the police chief, like they did in Lander, and also to the fire department if they're willing to come and share with their celebration. Very nice group. Very nice group. But anyway, those are the two main things I want to talk to you about. Do anybody else have any other questions or anything else? Because I could visit with some of these guys in Cheyenne to see if I can get some answers that I may not know right now.
One thing that I've noticed on this information that you've given us, your name isn't on it, your address, your phone number, contact information. So if we did choose to go ahead and pursue it, who would we contact?
I would say Bill Moore, and I have his number if you need it.
Well, it would be nice to have something on here.
Okay, Andy, last name Jivelekas.
I'm sorry, start over again, please.
Yeah, I was going to say that 3 times, right? Okay, Jivelekas. And this is off the record. Just kidding.
Okay.
Telephone number, it's an internet telephone I have. It's 333-7542. My cell phone number is 840-2116. And if you really can't get a hold of me, all you got to do is get a hold of the new hire, Kyle Butterfield.
The new hire, Mr. Butterfield. All right. Okay.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Thank you for coming this evening.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate your time.
Look, I mean, if there's any other questions before I leave?
No?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening to me. I appreciate
Thank you very
that.
much for your time. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the council? Okay. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda by items, by title only, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, July 15th, 2014 regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, August 4th, 2014 Finance Committee meeting. Approval of Finance Committee recommendations for August 4th, 2014.
Your Honor,
Yes.
It's the recommendation of the Finance Committee for the approval of claims to be paid in the amount of $606,776.54. Manual checks in the amount of $9,650.95. Checks written for payroll liabilities for July 11, 2014 and July 25, 2014 in the amount of $520,421.45 for a total of $1,136,848.94.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Agenda item number 8, public hearing and consideration of firework permit application for Riverton High School. City Clerk's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The City Clerk's Office received a fireworks permit application from Riverton High School. This is for football games. The dates are September 5th, September 26th, October 10th, and October 17th. I don't know, Mr. Hill. Don't see a letter from the fire chief. And I also don't have a site plan. So if you do approve this, it would be contingent on receiving those 2 items.
Okay. And being approved by those 2. Okay. At this time, we're going to open a public hearing and consideration of firework permit application for Riverton High School. The chair would entertain a motion for the public hearing.
Your Honor, I would make the motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I now declare the public hearing is open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding the permit application for Riverton High School? Thank you for coming this evening, Jeremy.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor, and City Council. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Jeremy Hill. I'm the Activities Director at Riverton High School and Assistant Principal. And to address what Courtney spoke about specifically, I did not seek a letter from the fire chief because we are not lighting fireworks. We are doing a cannon which does not have a fire component that goes along with it. But I would certainly be very willing to speak with the chief to do that.
Okay.
The second thing is the site plan is a little bit different than it was last year, and seeking your input as much as anything. We have decided to relocate the position of where we have the cannon. Last year we had it underneath the scoreboard. For Doc Holloway's sake, and I'm sure he'll be able to answer some questions about the cannon, we've asked to move it away from the scoreboard because the loudspeaker there is actually much louder than the cannon. So we would like to move him to a more buffered area closer to the school and with a set of buildings that buffer the cannon area also from the residential area. So it will be tucked in near one of our maintenance sheds that are on the southern side of Riverton High School. So if you know where that access road is that goes behind the pool, there's a maintenance shed that's down in there that we will be able to isolate him, keep the public at a safe distance, and also buffer that from the residential area. So I did not, as she said, send a site plan in with the application, but I instead wanted to ask for permission to locate it there and then do that site plan that goes along with it, kind of backwards from what you needed me to do, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
Our intention is to recognize our athletes and our fans that on those evenings and when we score a touchdown to then fire that cannon. We did it last year during homecoming. Doc, did we do just homecoming? I think we just did it during the one, and we had fireworks as approved by you guys for the other games. Our crowd seemed to appreciate the cannon as much as, if not more than, the fireworks. And given the state of what is typically drought in Wyoming in August and September, we think that the cannon is probably a much safer way to celebrate. The fireworks have a tendency to be a curiosity to kids, and it's just something that the superintendent and I feel would be safer to go with the cannon and somebody that handles it and discharges it on a regular basis.
Has there been any complaints to the school district from last year's?
No, sir, nothing from last year. We did get a phone call today, which I believe is a similar phone call that you received as well,
Yes.
with some concerns as to where that celebration would end, what we would add after cannons and all of those other types of things. And our intention is for this to be our celebration. When you go to other places across the state, when they score touchdowns, they all have some sort of ritual that they do. In Powell, they light a pea on fire every time there's a touchdown and the fire trucks wail. That's something that I think could be considered something that would alert people to an emergency if we're running sirens and lights when indeed there is not an emergency. So it's important to us to educate the public as to what we're doing and to celebrate the achievements of our student athletes.
In the telephone call that I received, why there was a lot of, well, if this happens, then what if this happens, and what if this? Well, those are things that if they do happen, we can deal with them as they, but you can't worry about what if.
Right.
In the future, and as long as this certainly doesn't seem to me to be unreasonable, and, with no complaints from the surrounding neighborhood and the hospital or anything like that in the school district, why, I personally don't see a problem with it, but, if things do crop up in the future, why we are always ready to.
And we would want to address those and come to a consensus on what the best solution would be as well.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate your coming this evening and taking this
You're welcome.
proactive stance, if you will.
You're very welcome. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you would like to address the council at this open time, Doc, I enjoyed your conversation when you were concerned more about the speakers than you were the cannon. I got quite a chuckle out of that.
My name is Samuel Holloway, Doc Holloway. Yes, I have worked with Mr. Hill. We did last year. We took the cannon up there. We started, like I said, the speakers. That was a little too loud for me, so we decided to revisit this year because, one, we had a real concern of the hospice, and all of that, and the neighborhood. The neighborhood is one of our big concerns, and I know the chief would be interested in that. So we looked at moving it over by that building, which will buffer it. That area will be cordoned off, and if I could, I'd like to talk to the chief about borrowing some police tape so I can keep people out of the area to keep it safe. The question I heard come up was the size, the bore of the cannons. I'll be using a 1.5 or a 2 1/4 inch bore, and I'm shooting 600 grains in the small one. I'm shooting 1,200 in the big one. But the bigger you get on the bore, it goes away from a loud crack to a more of a big boom. As he did bring up the speakers last year, my neighbor, the Dakers, I talked to her when we did the experiment up there, and I asked her to listen for what she could hear. And when I talked back to her, she says, well, I could hear the loudspeakers. I could hear them talking about a touchdown, but she said, did you ever fire the cannon? So she could not hear to her house. So that told me my decimal level is probably lower than what I really expected. I don't know, Mike. I think I'm probably around 100 decimals, 125. What would you think? It's really hard to tell. But like I said, we'd appreciate the fact to try to do it. We'll do everything within the cardinals of safety. Fire, I carry a fire extinguisher. If there's a little bit of something blows out of the barrel, I take care of it immediately right there. And I'm on good grass this year, so I'm not worried about it. If there is complaints, we would like to know because we'll address the situation. You have any questions of me? Or I've been doing this now for 7 years for Shoshone, 6 years for Pavilion, 13 years for the town of Lander for the veterans. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. We appreciate your coming in this evening. Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak on this issue? Okay, there being no other speakers, the chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the firework permit application.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve the firework application for Riverton High School.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? All those in favor, yes, Councilman Larson.
Now, someone mentioned in our pre-meeting that we had talked to the hospital and found that they were unaware or wasn't bothered by it.
That's correct.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Fabian.
I actually spoke to the CEO of the Riverton Hospital, and he indicated that it did not appear to be a problem from last year, and if it was, they would be more than happy to come speak to the council if need be, so.
Okay, thank you very much. The chair would, and we've already got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay. Agenda item number 9, property liquidation. Offer to purchase city subdivision property, old hospital lots. Community Development Director's report, please.
That's going to be me.
Thank you.
In June of 2007, the city of Riverton purchased the old Riverton Memorial Hospital property on North 12th East. It had been mostly vacant since the new hospital was built in approximately 1984 and was in disrepair. Asbestos remediation was completed in the fall of 2008, and demolition of the building followed. With some pressure from the neighborhood, the property was rezoned to A residential district in December of 2007, which makes it even more difficult to make it pencil out. The residents would rather see single-family housing rather than multifamily. In December of 2010, the city replatted the property into a city subdivision in order to sell part of the property. A parcel was bid on and offer was accepted by the council for the Soldier's House project in the amount of $20,000. 4 parcels on the east were bid on and purchased by Habitat for Humanity in June of 2011 for an average price of $10,250 per lot. The property was put on the market by our realty company, HomeSource, 2 years ago. A year ago, staff met with another developer that was looking at the property, and with the improvements needed, they could not make it pencil out, and so they chose not to go through on an offer. We have received an offer for the 2 remaining parcels of the city-owned property, Lot 2 and 7, City Subdivision. The offer is for $90,000. The developer plans to subdivide the lot into 9 parcels. Looking strictly at the offer, it would appear we're selling these for $10,000 a lot. However, once you add the price of what it will cost to get the utilities to the property, the lots will be about $21,728. HomeSource Realty has prepared a packet that contains comparative information of properties currently available for sale and recently sold lots. Included in this is a proposed layout for the 2 remaining parcels. Mr. Pipica is here, and we'll talk to the council after I finish my report. Also included is a breakdown of the estimated cost to develop this property. Because there are no utilities to these lots, their value is lower. The developer will be required to run the water and sewer lines in order to provide these utilities to each lot. The larger lot, Lot 2, may be easier to get utilities to, but if it is sold alone, we may not be able to sell the smaller parcel facing Jackson due to the greater cost for utilities for a developer. This offer would liquidate some of the vacant property owned by the city and put it in the hands of a private developer for housing. The residential A would be maintained, which is what the adjoining property owners are requesting. If this offer is accepted, Public Services would like to connect to the developer's new water line to create a loop for service redundancy. The city would be responsible for the cost of this portion of the water line. The city estimated the cost just over $20,000. The developer will not bear the cost since it's not needed to serve the development. Service redundancies are used to keep customers in service in the event of a water break. We would also require of the purchaser that any existing water or sewer lines that are still on the property be abandoned before development. It is my opinion that these lots have been up for sale for 2 years, and this is the first real offer that we've had. We've had one developer look at it in the past and couldn't make it work because of the costs. Now we have an offer, and it seems to be in line with other properties up for sale with utilities, and it fits in the A zone, which the residents want. I also believe it's beneficial to sell them as a group because the improvement costs can be spread over more than one lot. And I think we'd better off to see houses in there instead of a vacant lot with weeds or other things growing on there. City tends not to be in the business of real estate, only when we have to, and then we ought to get rid of it so that it can be developed. So our recommendation is to accept the offer and liquidate the property.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Appreciate it. In order to have our discussion, the chair would entertain a motion regarding this property liquidation.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to accept the offer for property liquidation.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Your Honor, do we have to offer that at a higher, we have to put it in a bid process, or can we accept the offer like as is?
You mean,
Do we have to, when we offer property out, do we have to sell it to the highest bidder or the one that is offered to purchase it? I mean, it's been for sale for 2 years.
yeah, Your Honor, when we contract with Home Source, they've had it up for sale for 2 years. And so it's not on the auction block. It's just been up for sale, and any offer that comes through can be accepted by the council.
Okay.
I would suggest maybe having George explain a little bit. He's got a little bit more background, if that's appropriate.
Sure. Mr. Paplika?
Good evening, George Piplica. Yeah, we actually listed the property. I had told Stephen 2 years, but it's actually January 20th of 2012. Prior developer, and something that we really weren't aware of when we first priced those lots, was that the Jackson side has no utility service. It's in 12th Street and it's in 14th Street. So we've been forced and never had the city actually go and divide that into 9 separate lots. Because if we did that, we feel you'd never get rid of the one big lot on Jackson, because the cost to sell that and then develop it would be in the hole completely. So it's forced us to try to sell it as a group. We did have the veterans offer one lot price for an additional lot. I think it was $6,000 or $7,000 to add a lot to the veterans home there. Because they weren't needing any water and sewer, they were going to make a yard or an additional area, but that isn't really what we wanted for the neighborhood, because we had promised when we first did the hospital property that we'd try to keep it all residential, not turn more commercialized by having it more of the veterans area. So our problem's been is that we have water and sewer in 12th Street, a little confusing, and you got that cutout and that big curb cut back, so the cost to develop 5 times into that lot gets very expensive as well, because you'd have 5 separate cutouts going into 12th Street, which would mess up 12th Street considerably when you're trying to do that. So the only way to get water and sewer is to bring it down that outlook lot that's really an alleyway, where the city maintained that to keep that well, I believe back then, that they had in the hospital. There is one other line coming off of 14th that we abandoned. I'm not sure what that is, but it'd be a requirement that Stephen made. So the prior developer got into it, and I went back and looked at my notes. Well, our estimate then was $130,000 for infrastructure to get water and sewer. Ironically, they were the exact same number. They were $90,000 they wanted to offer on the property. But when they added another $130,000 to it and drove their lot cost up, and then there was some concern about other utilities in there, whether they'd have to pay for that, they said, we can't get that. And the reason we have a problem with that is we feel like the developer has to build a house at $200,000 or less, because you've got Habitat Humanity houses there, and you've got residential structures there that are generally sold for $140,000 to $200,000. So we can't go in with new construction at $250,000. So it limits our builder to be able to forces him to spend $21,000 on a lot, build a $140,000 house, and try to sell it for $170,000 or $180,000. That gets that house down to where we got to keep it at $100 a foot. that's pretty thin margin for that developer to do it. So even though the number's not good, we think the offer is very fair based on trying to get some new housing that's affordable, that from a real estate side, we see a lot of request, and we see a shortage of having any kind of new product under $200,000. But these guys in the pictures in your packet are a couple 1,400 square foot. These lots do work a little better than some of the other product on the market, because if you have the outlook lot, it allows us a little flexibility to not, when you're dealing with, or Rich would understand especially, but when you're dealing with little 75, 70 foot frontage lots, you really can't put a garage on there. You need to, for the setbacks, you're really restricted to a 40-foot house, 45-foot wide house. But this allows a garage to go in the back and on the side on 12th Street. So it allows us some flexibility where the other lots currently out there, priced roughly, Kyle would say roughly $3 a foot for where your land is there. But we don't have the alley accesses and the utilities to build that type of housing there. So it lends, his housing lends to a little bit more expensive house, and puts a little bit bigger home that you can put on a little more street frontage. So that helps kind of explain where we're at.
Are there any questions of Mr. Peplica?
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Garden.
I think the offer is more than fair when you look at the requirements to build on the lot. And, the overall cost, the utilities on those first four that we sold prior were in 14th Street and have been since 56, I do believe. And so I think the opportunity seems to be, and, I hope that they fly off the market. But I still think it makes it extremely difficult to build something that is purchasable in that 180 range. And
It's a very thin margin.
yeah, there's not much
Incredibly
margin
thin
here.
margin.
And yet I think this is the very best thing that can happen, with the promise that it'll stay zoned A. The only other choice would be to go back and to approach that zoning change and put some higher density property in there.
Well, I think that's what would happen on Jackson. It'd be the only way for the Jackson lot to sell, is we'd have to go into it with a 6-plex, 8-plex, change the zoning. I don't want to tell those neighborhood owners that. That's what we promised we wouldn't do, so.
Well, we promised that it would be residential A, but not residential A in perpetuity.
Yeah, that's true too.
And that's what that argument, tries to press forward.
Sure.
We did put it in residential A, and now it's up just like any other lot in the community. So it would be up to the council if that were brought forward as a possibility. I'm really torn on this darn thing. On the one hand, I'm very supportive of needing affordable housing in our community. Everything we hear, we need affordable housing. The other plus side of it is that the city would be getting loose from this thorn in our side. But then I look at how much money the city has invested in that property, and we're selling this now for $1.19 a square foot, which to me is just a giveaway. But when you factor in the other development costs and whatnot, why, you make a strong argument there. The comparables that you have on here, you've got a number of comparables. Do all of those have water and sewer to them?
They have water and sewer in the street, yeah.
In the street,
Not
but they
yeah,
have to be developed as well.
Most of those
on
are gonna
top
have
of
to be
that.
developed as well. Some are, the Wellington, you've got a dirt street, so a little less cost to get into those scenarios. So our lots in the Riverton, you're gonna find country club lots hitting $5.50, $6 a foot. We didn't put those in. We think that's a different market a little bit, to where you'll find lots as low as $2 a foot, just depending on the neighborhood area of what might be there. Or that it's a lot that's a little more difficult to build. So we've sold some, I didn't put all the cells. Remember, we sold the little duplex lot at the bottom of Major that duplex went into. That was an 18,000 square foot lot that we sold for $10,000 because the development cost again. That's what we look at from our side, from the real estate side, is you can't just compare $1 to 2 or to 3. It's really what the cost of that lot is to get that lot to a buildable site. And that's what we look at when we're trying to price is, are we pricing and selling at $3 a foot to a buildable site? Or are we pricing and selling to $4 or $5?
Yes, Councilman.
Last sale that George doesn't know about, I financed a purchase of 8,700 square feet for $8,500.
For $8,500, see?
I mean,
Yeah.
it was a steal and couldn't pass it up. Right now, that offer of 10,000 is pretty attractive for undeveloped. That's the problem is.
It is
I
undeveloped.
guarantee if you want to get $3 a square foot, then you're gonna have to spend the money to put the water and the sewer and electrical and natural gas there, and they don't do it for free.
Well, I think just so that we're clear on how we look at it so the city can make their best decision is, I think we could divide those into the 9 lots roughly that we helped design the 9 lots that you see here. But the city's gonna have to do that then. We're gonna have to go out and do a subdivision. And we've had inquiries for a single lot, but then that gets into the problem of how do we go about dividing that off? And are you gonna do 9 separate subdivisions and let everybody pick how wide a lot they want? We haven't wanted to do that. So then, if we did do that, we'd have to subdivide them, but then we'd have to address what we're gonna do with Jackson to get utility service there. Because nobody's gonna pay to go 150 feet up a street and buy a $10,000 lot and spend $40,000 to get water and sewer to it. So that's our problem. It's the developed cost, not the actual net cost of the city. It's what is the city doing to develop that lot to make it sellable for housing? But I agree, Mayor, the city has a great deal of money in this
We
property.
got a lot invested in it already, and
Oh,
but
my
we're
goodness.
through with the old hospital, which was a thorn in our side for years, and that was a great thing to get done. I guess my preferred setting, is there any time, is there anything pressing us that we need to take action on that tonight?
The offer actually had expired, but he extended that and is willing to look at that. I don't think our true building will be until next spring because we're hoping that early fall that we could bid that, get another bid for that infrastructure cost and maybe save the city a little money on their cost as well as hopefully him a little cost. But trying to get a contractor out there now with Bornhoff tied up and everything, you just can't get another bid from anybody
Right, all the
until
Tricos are tied up.
October, so it may be April, May before we actually can put water sewer lines in. And so we can certainly ask him for you to take it under advisement and hold for a bit.
What I personally would like to do, and I mentioned this to at our senior staff meeting, I would like to hold off until next council meeting and take action at that time. We've had this on the market for 2 years, but as you've indicated, but this is the first time that it's come, I think, before the council.
It is.
You know, before the public. And so the public now that's watching this on TV or a developer at home and say, whoa, they're going to sell this piece of ground for $1.19 a square foot. I'd like a piece of that action. If we take action tonight, we're cutting that opportunity off. And I would like to give them the opportunity, if there's anyone out there that is even thinking about this, that now's the time to step forward with an offer.
I certainly would have no opposition to that, but I can't speak for the buyer. He may very well say no.
Yeah,
That's
well,
a risk you take with any offer
Sure.
in
No,
a game.
I understand that, and I'm just suggesting
Yeah.
that
No, I
in
understand
order
that.
to
From
try
the
to,
public's concept.
get as good a price as we can. We've already sold one lot for $20,000, and we recognize that the utilities were a lot closer and it wasn't nearly as expensive to develop it, but it wasn't nearly as large a development either. And so,
Yeah, I think Sandy told me that she figured 23,000 is what he had in that lot,
yeah, I imagine.
and it was a 7,800 square foot. We had to, I think we had to enlarge that veteran's lot to get his house on it.
Yeah.
So he had made an offer for 20, but then if I remember right, you added a little square footage to it. So it made it closer to an 8,000 square foot lot. Again, there's that almost $3 a foot. It's a
Yes.
finished buildable site.
And so that's my, but as Mayor Eichler used to say, it's the will of the council, so.
Yes, sir.
But I'm going to vote no on this personally, but it's not because I don't agree with what you're presenting. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it will take a lot to get it to a developable state. We do need affordable housing. The city would be getting out from underneath it. I'm supportive of all those things, but it's our responsibility, I think, as a council too, to protect the assets of the citizenry. And so we can make a case back
I
and
agree.
forth.
I think it's great to get it out on the table and figure out where the
Yep,
position
and
is.
that's where we'll go, and I can certainly live with it either way it goes, so.
Thank you for
anyway.
your time.
Your Honor.
Anyone else have any questions of Mr. Peplica?
I don't.
Nope.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you, George. We
bet.
appreciate your coming this evening. Any other discussion?
Your Honor, can I have another bite?
Sure.
The likelihood of, and I understand your thought, but we've had this out there for over 2 years. I think George points out it's 2.5 years, almost 2 and 8 months. And so the likelihood of someone unaware that this property is there, and a lot of us have taken a look at it, tried to maneuver it, tried to do the numbers, tried to make it work. We haven't had an offer. We haven't had an offer that made any sense at all. And so, the real price of a property is when two fools meet. And I think that's where we're at. And we were sold that this property would revenue its costs back to us. We all knew that wasn't the case, clear back when we demolished the building. It's not to make the city whole, it's to get the city's best investment back out of the property. And so I would make the case that the offer is not going to get any better the longer we wait. The size of these lots at 65 and 64 feet wide is extremely difficult to work on without connecting those properties, and you just can hardly dig a hole, one hole next to the other hole. And so I think it's more than generous, and I would make the point that we ought to take the property as offered and move it on. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Guard. Councilman Guard, is there anyone else?
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Fabian.
what was the list price of the property?
George Piplick again. You currently have two listings. The Jackson listing's at $79,500, and the listing on the Park Street is $89,500. So it's about, a little over half price of the listed current price. When those were done, we thought utilities was in Jackson. We later found out that wasn't true, but we've never changed that price accordingly, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
I guess, businessmen are in business to make money and certainly not to lose it. And I guess I feel like if this has been looked at by two different entities, one who came up with a price around this and decided they couldn't quite make it pay, and one who's now come up with this price and decided they can, I tend to agree with Councilman Guard. This property's been for sale. I'm assuming it's been on an MLS. Anyone in the world who wished to look for it had ample opportunity to make us an offer and hasn't done so. So I guess I tend to agree with Councilman Guard at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
I certainly can't disagree with that. It's been on the table. The chance of getting a better price probably is remote, but I would rather take that chance. Set it back for a couple weeks isn't going to hurt us, and but anyway, it's a judgment call, and that's all it is. So, but I don't disagree that that the chances of something happening are certainly remote, but I think in the interest of the public in protecting their assets, we need to take that, take that extra time. So, okay.
So,
Yes.
I'll make a comment is that if it's been a quote a vacant lot since 2008, and you're now sitting at halfway through 2014, excuse me, you say that sitting waiting a couple weeks may not hurt us, but at the same time, we've heard that if you say you want to kick it down the road 2 weeks, and then the buyer says, thank you, I'm moving on, then it may sit as another vacant lot for another 6 years.
There's
So,
that possibility. Okay,
Thank you again.
thank you again. Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the floor to accept the offer for the property liquidation known as the old hospital lots. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor votes no. Thank you very much, George. Okay, motion carries. Agenda item number 10, bid award, water treatment plant, high service pump project. Public Work Director's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. The water treatment plant high service pumps have reached their end of their useful lifespan. The facility was originally constructed and opened in 1981. Staff has noticed that the pumps have been steadily losing efficiency and would eventually need to be replaced. In September 2013, the largest pump in the plant went down. Staff was able to provide adequate volume to meet demand, but without this pump, staff will be unable to meet demand during June, July, and August. Ultimately, the plant needs to have all 3 pumps replaced. The City of Riverton authorized staff to obtain a SLIB grant for this project, which staff did. The grant was awarded to the city this spring. The city has contracted with Burns & McDonnell's to prepare plans and specifications. The project began advertising for bid on June 28, 2014. 8 contractors and suppliers signed up and downloaded the bid package. Bids were received and opened on July 16, 2014, with the following results. Velocity Constructors Incorporated of Denver, Colorado, $320,607. Lillard and Clark of Laramie, Wyoming, $409,000. Staff reviewed the bid results with the consultants and contractor to assure that the bids were responsive. Velocity Constructors Incorporated is the apparent low bid, even after the 5% Wyoming preference was applied. The consulting engineers and staff recommends that the City Council award the bid to Velocity Constructors in the amount of $320,607. The project is funded by grants and is currently in the budget for $520,000.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Butterfield. Appreciate it. Welcome aboard. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
The chair would entertain a motion regarding the bid award for the water treatment plant high service pump project.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to accept the low bid.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Councilman Christensen.
Just have a concern. The engineer's estimate was 520. I just get real concerned that something comes in $200,000 below. Maybe things are a lot cheaper in Denver. I don't know. Maybe they can haul that up, but I just worry about that. I don't know if there's lots of change orders, this and that. It just seems odd, for lack of a better word. So it is a concern. I think we just need to keep an eye on it, because $200,000 is a lot of money.
Your Honor, that is a definite good observation, I think, and legally we are required to take a low bid. I verified again that Burns & McDonnell checked all references and they came clean, and so we will have to be diligent in our project management to ensure that we respect the integrity of the bid process and watch out for potential change orders or changes to the costs later down the line.
Okay, is there any other comments? Yes, Councilman Canan.
Sir, just a quick question. I mean, I agree that the pumps probably need to be replaced, but you make a comment in here about that you didn't meet demand during June, July, and August. Was there a problem during those? Did we not meet any water demands here during the last 2.5 months?
My experience obviously is limited in the city. I do know that we had water restrictions in place prior to my coming into town. Obviously, in the summer months, demands on water are high, and my understanding is we do what we can to put the volumes out as best as possible to meet, irrigation and also drinking water demands for each property and business. However, to be more efficient, it would be nice to replace these pumps because as they continue to degrade, the ability for city staff to provide water at strong volumes will continually decrease.
Yeah, I understand that, but like I said, did we not meet demand during June, July, and so far in August?
I'm not aware of anything specific.
Your Honor, I think we did probably meet demands, but as my understanding is, Millie's been up there applying the Band-Aids and the tape to keep things together. It's just a matter of, they're just on the verge of collapsing completely, and so it's a matter of, we don't want that to happen. So I think we met demands, it's just that it's been close.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman
This
Larson.
hasn't been a typical summer, though. We've had thunderstorms come through here like we used to have in 85 and 90. We haven't had the amount of water required. You drive anywhere in Wyoming and it's green, which is unusual. Or we met demand, we dodged a bullet, I think.
Well, I understand. It's just that the memo was written here in July, and it says we were gonna fail to meet demands during June, July, and August, so.
Well, it's historical data.
Okay, we have any other discussion on this?
Your Honor,
Councilman Guard.
I would throw in that I think what Millie's trying to get across to us is if we lost any of these pumps, we would not be able to continue to meet our demands. And so, and I appreciate that I would rather fix the problem before we had to require that to be mandated, and then we had to go back to water restrictions or something. So I think that, I don't want people crying wolf because they want to replace something, but I do believe that that's a fairly good lifetime. We're from 81 for those pumps. I would tell you that they were well put together, and we've got that lifetime out of them. It'd be smart to replace them before we lose them. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilman Gordon. As I recall in reading this, it's confirmed that one of the pumps has already failed. And so we're depending on the other two, and if one of them fails, and we know it's in a declining process, that we definitely won't be able to meet that. I recall that discussion that my Scotch blood wants to run it until the last one fails, and then we'll replace them. But that's not the way that you want to run the city in this situation. So at any rate, is there any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second regarding the bid award. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, mayor votes aye. Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, replat lots 71A, 72A, replat of lot 71-81, Country Club Village First Edition. Community Development Director's report.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm not the Community Development Director, but I apologize. Mrs. Lures is sick tonight, and so I'm stepping in for her. The petitioners, Marlene Broderick and Joel Kathleen Vincent, are requesting a lot line adjustment between their two lots. It's located at 527 Village Drive and 519 Spyglass Circle. The detail sheet shows the existing home wall location on lot 71B with the northeast eave corner at the existing lot line. The lot line adjustment will allow for required setbacks and better utilization of the properties. Water and sewer for the lot 71B comes from Village Drive, and the water and sewer lot service for lot 72B is likely from Spyglass Circle. Reviews were sent to utility companies. There were no conflicts. The Planning Commission reviewed and recommended approval for this on July 17, 2014. We're recommending approval. As you can see from the map itself, there's a portion coming from one lot and some giving it up to the other, and so in the end, they have the same amount, but I guess the eaves of that didn't meet the setbacks, and they wanted to build fences, and there was issues, and so they just made this trade, and so it's a pretty mindless
Yeah,
request.
looks like two homeowners coming together and agreeing to something that's in each of their best interests, so that's, okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding this replat.
Your Honor, I would make the motion to approve the replat.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Agenda item number 12, consideration of grant application for AIP 38 Runway 10 reconstruction design. Public Works Director report, please.
Thank you. And I first must address the typo. It's for AIP 37. I apologize for that.
For AIP 37?
Correct. The purpose of the agreement between FAA and the City of Riverton is to issue a grant for Javiation, the city's retained engineering firm, to design fiscal year 2015 reconstruction of Runway 10. This design represents the second phase of a three-phase project related to Runway 10. The project is intended to correct the non-standard longitudinal gradient issue of the runway. The project is safety related and has been in the FAA's queue for required projects for the last 10 years. The Airport Improvement Program AIP 37 grant provides funding for our contracted engineer to perform site surveys and to redesign runway 10 in order to have its west end lowered by almost 11 feet. This will bring the touchdown zone for the four landing aircrafts on runway 10 into compliance with FAA regulations by the end of fiscal year 2015. In sum, this year's design will be used next year for the letting of construction bids. Riverton Regional Airport has followed the required FAA process of requesting an independent fee estimate prior to proceeding with the design process. And I do want to add that that is merely a check and balance system. It's not necessarily an invitation to bid or an opening of bids. It's just to confirm that our contracted engineer is within appropriate costs for this project. With that being said, a firm out of Cody, Wyoming called GDA Engineers was randomly selected to provide the independent estimate. GDA received the same information that Javiation used to determine their project design fees. Following additional discussions with both firms relating to delivery methods and general aviation versus Part 139 rate differences, the results below represent each firm's estimate. The additional discussions were needed to more appropriately bring the costs in line for this project. As another side note, we received the initial cost estimates from both firms, and there was a large discrepancy at first of nearly $270,000, which did raise our eyebrows and pique our interests. As such, I give credit to our airport division manager for contacting GDA, making sure that they were receiving and bidding off the same information that Javiation was. They revised their bid price, their independent fee estimate, and Javiation as well came into City Hall and met with us, and were able to re-examine their initial bid quote and lower it by a significant amount. That being said, GDA, the independent estimate firm, involved 5,827 man-hours to design the project for a total cost of $849,615, Javiation came in at 5,445 man-hours at a total cost of $928,085. The difference, well, let me explain. FAA prioritizes hours over costs when selecting firms related to their grants. This has to do with overhead and staffing costs. Javiation is under GDA's man hours to design this project by 382 hours, but at a cost increase of $78,470. This is acceptable by the FAA Denver Airport District Office and YDOT Aeronautics. Javiation will be doing the design work for the lowering of runway 10 in this AIP 37 grant at the same time that the FAA Navigational Aids Engineers will be working on AIP 38 grant, since the lowering of runway 10 affects the FAA owned and maintained rail and localizers on runway 1028. We have already been issued the AIP 38 grant, and the FAA is getting started on their portion of the design. To talk about budget impacts, Riverton has been budgeted $930,000 in budget year 2014-2015 for this design-only project. This will impact our budget with the total amount being $928,085. The breakdown of percentages from federal, state, and local matches. Again, this is a grant application. The federal grant share of the cost is 97.75%. The state share is 3.75%, and the City of Riverton's share on this grant is 2.5%. The breakdown of those costs for the federal share is $870,079.68. The state share is $34,803.19, and the city's share would be $23,202.15.
Okay, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the grant application for AIP 38-7 runway 10 reconstruction design.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to approve the grant application to Javiation.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Is there discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Guard.
I was fortunate enough to sit in on that meeting, and Paul and Steve, I think, caught that, and Kyle and Courtney were in the meeting also, and with Javiation. And if they hadn't caught that, a lot of municipalities would pass that straight through. It's a savings of almost $200,000, and I appreciate them going back over the numbers and not just passing them through because Javiation is who they want to use. I'm always the guy wanting to use a Wyoming firm and pushing for a Wyoming firm, and I think we need to look at that in the near future to see. I believe Sage has come to tell me that they believe that they can do that work, and so they did not bid on this that I know of, and so Javiation will continue to do that work, but it was a good catch, and it saved a lot of money, and I appreciate their efforts on that. Thanks.
Any other comments? Yes.
Just to be clear, so this is design only. This is not actual construction.
That's correct.
Design
Okay.
only.
Thank you.
You're in the wrong business. Councilman.
Should have been an engineer.
It's a lot of money for just a design, so. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor regarding the grant application. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Motion carries. Okay, I think that finishes our agenda this evening. We're not planning on having an executive session, are we, Stephen?
No.
Okay. Good. Council committee reports, starting with Councilman Guard.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had to make a list. I had so many things I wanted to bring up. It's been a while since we met, and I appreciate the city staff for the assistance that they've given us. Out on Rain Tree, many of us have been involved with that discussion, and I would like to thank one of the residents out there for bringing it to my attention. I went out and took a look, and there was some things that we could do better, and I believe Kyle and Steve went out and fixed that. I appreciated the letter that Kyle sent out to the homeowner, and I think he did too. Did that turn out successful? I haven't talked to Tim since then. Okay. I appreciated that, and you know, we're looking ahead, and thank goodness we're trying to do our best there. I also had a gentleman, Bob Long, come in my office. We really do have a weed problem, and he had some blocks that he spoke with the mayor and Steve and I, and we were able to address those, and there's some compost tailings that we're going to take a look at and take care of that, and the weed problem that's there. And he's trying to do a really good job on his weeds. And a side note to that, I got a postcard in the mail 2 weeks ago or something from the Riverton Garden Club complimenting me for taking care of my yard. And my wife didn't think much of that because they wanted us to come to the Wednesday meeting and join the club, and I think she wanted me to stay at home and mow the lawn. And so, but I really did appreciate that. I think that was really kind of them to send them out. I checked with a number of people, and a lot of people got those messages of thanks for taking care of their properties. And so I would just like to commend the Riverton Garden Club for that positive message that they're sending out, and I really do appreciate it. I think that's one of our problems, is getting back pride of ownership in properties throughout the city, and I think that's a good way to do that. The airport's been busy. We met with the airport committee 2 weeks ago. We had some positive hope. A congressman from, I think, New England, Congressman Smith.
Nebraska, I think.
Was it Nebraska? Mm-hmm. Thank you, Your Honor.
Congressman Smith, I think.
Yeah, from Nebraska, you say?
I believe that's where it was.
Okay. He has put forth to Congress a bill to take care of the small airports that are looking at dropping below 10,000 in enplanements, and that looks like we may have that problem, and it would be surely helpful if we could get on board with that and help that go through. I also wanted to, in that meeting, I asked that media might support us in some positive information out on the airport, which County 10 had done a wonderful job. I think Ernie said there were 3 articles in support, and the Rangers had articles in support, and the airport is getting better. Our numbers are better, and cancellations are better, and we're doing a better job there. The rec board met last night. Both Martin and I were at that, and the Children's Museum asked a month ago for almost $14,000. They pulled that request and asked for instead some help with the flooring, the sign, and what was the third one?
Case for one of the displays.
Yeah, a case to cover up one of the skeleton displays that they're going to have, and that dropped to $4,780. They also approved the last of the bathroom costs at the new bathroom at Babe Ruth, and then R for Recreation requested $2,757.81 for ice rink that they've ordered. So that's on its way. I'd like to thank the chief. We had some tough times getting folks down Federal, and I got a call from Gary Campbell, who was helpful. He inspired me to get in my car and go drive that, and he said it took 21 minutes, and he was right. He was right about where the plug was, and I was able to talk to the chief, and chief already knew it, and chief was back from vacation, I might add, and hard on the job, and had tried to change the signals in the intersection to a number of different settings. And so I do appreciate the police's effort. I realized it was frustrating to get down to the fairgrounds, and a lot of us took some heated conversations over those. But I really do appreciate the work that's being done there. On the final note was that when Steve's away, Courtney fixed 2 potholes for me. I hope it doesn't come out of her salary. So I had a constituent come to me and ask for a pothole to be fixed on Main Street. Kyle, could you research that and let me know if that's the responsibility of WYODOT or is responsibility of the city to patch side potholes that are on an adjoining street?
Your Honor, I'd be happy to.
And Courtney did exactly what I asked her to. I told her the pothole was on 4th Street, West 4th. And I tell you this story because I think lots of times we just think people don't listen or they won't do what we ask. And so later in the week, I went back and asked Courtney, hey, how come that pothole isn't fixed? And she said it was fixed, just like you asked. And so I said, no, not the one I wanted. I just drove by. And so we got discussing, and it was on 5th Street. And so we got 2 potholes out of 1, and I really did appreciate it. Maybe I should do that more often, but I really appreciate that because it's the city employees that fix those, not me. And their hard work and effort to go out and do what's requested of them. I tell that story because I think people, if they're responsive and polite, can get a lot of work done. And if they do have a problem with a pothole or something that's bothering them, if they'll call the city and pleasantly ask for some help, I think they'll find that the city will come to their assistance and get that done. And I would encourage that. Past that, Your Honor, I think that's all the notes I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Gard. Councilman Canan.
Sir, nothing really, other than I know the folks up on Henry are appreciative of the public's work doing the emergency water line up through there. I know my neighbor, Mr. Sowers, appreciative of it, so that they would have to quit digging up his front lawn there day after day to fix the same leak. That was, I think that was a good job there, getting that done in a hurry.
We're getting close down there, thank goodness. Yeah. Okay, Councilman Christensen.
Your Honor, nothing to report, no committees. I have none.
Your Honor, thank you. I would echo Councilman Gard. The police did a wonderful job with all of the increased fare traffic. I think, and the public, for the most part, at least my perception was that they were fairly tolerant of the fact that things were taking a little longer. It was a wonderful fair. Had the opportunity to go down and check it out a little bit and enjoyed it a lot. I am saddened to report that we actually have had 3 of the board members for the animal shelter that have resigned their positions, each of them citing personal reasons and different personal reasons. But unfortunately, Kathy Hooper, Amy Stockton, and my wife, Rain Fabian, have all resigned their positions on the PAWS board. With that said, if anyone is interested in serving in that capacity for the city, for the good of the animals, I know that they are seeking additional board members to fill those vacancies. So if animals are your thing, please contact the 2 new contacts for that are Pamela Canham and Kent Moss. Both of them work for FCAG, and that work phone number is 856-5033. So if you're interested, please contact them there. The only other thing I have is that the Parks and Trails Planning Committee is, I believe, kind of in the trails planning portion of their work. And I believe Mr. Gores has offered some assistance in a maintenance plan for the trails, and they also have, I believe, met with some of the contractors around town trying to come up with some sort of a maintenance plan to include in that document, and they are hard at work, so stay tuned. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Larson.
Your Honor, it's been a while. The fair parade, I thought, was a demonstration of our community, because there was a lot of people there. But more importantly was the control and the care that the police department took, which made it very smooth. So I know I talk about the police department too much, but they were on bicycles, they were everywhere, and they were doing a fine job. Last thing I just want to say is how nice I'm enjoying the roads around my area. If you've got rough roads, come on up and see my roads. They're nice.
How was that paid for?
That was paid for by the 1% sales tax. And let me tell you, that is money that comes back and is worthwhile.
That's right.
And I'm thankful for those individuals that stuck their necks out to get it passed, because I'm certainly going to vote for it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Larson.
No
Councilman
reports
Smith.
tonight, Your
No
Honor.
report. All right. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor, our work session is on task for next week. We're going to have Millie, our chief operator at the water treatment plant. She's going to come to speak to us, and then we're going to give you a, what do we call it? We're going to talk about the sanitation issue before we have the vote the following week. So we wanted just to give an update of what the sanitation task force came up for the recommendations, some of our thoughts, and people can ask a lot of questions, and then the following week they'll be brought up and we'll vote on it. So should be some exciting weeks to come. Thank you.
Going to be talking trash again, huh? Yeah, it's never ending. Okay, I share a lot of the things that Councilman Guard and Councilman Larson and everyone has been speaking about. I guess the thing that stands out is the retirement from the PAWS board. When I was on the council in 2000, the city was putting down over 600 animals a year, and it was just heart-wrenching to see what was going on, and Amy Stockton and Kathy Hooper really stepped up and turned that around, and has just done an outstanding job down there, and just have worked themselves to death down there, I think, in all of the fundraising efforts and whatnot, that every time you turn around, PAWS is having some kind of a fundraiser. And I think that's just wore on them heavily. And in their letter of resignation, why they're talking about, there's a lot of organizations that are asking for donations, and it's hard to keep up with those requests all the time. So it is getting harder probably to raise money, and they're talking about the 5-to-1 ratio, that from what the city is donating versus what they're generating. And so they're working hard and paying their own way, and I don't fault these ladies at all for the years that they've put in, but they're going to be missed, and we need some good people to step up and to help fill that void. In fact, in my letter of thanks that I sent to them, I suggested that when I retire from this position, why maybe I'll be able to spend more time down at the PAWS, because that's a good place to spend time with our animals. So I agree with everyone talking about the survival of the fair. That was quite an event. Every time we turned around, it seemed like we were having an emergency meeting down at the fairgrounds with the PD and with the fair board and YDOT, and trying to figure out how we could get people to run through the traffic quicker, and I think we're over the hump there now. So it certainly, we got through it with no one getting run over or any incidents that way. So I think there were a few people that waved at each other as they were having problems getting in line. But other than that, well, we're going to be all right. I did receive some information the other day that there was a city employee that was seen and reported to the city of picking up trash on the street, and I thought that was really great. If we can get our community to everybody pitch in a little bit and help, then it's not a great load on any of us. And so I thought that was really, really neat. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, there's going to be up at Central Wyoming College a welcoming event for Chris Valdez. He's the new college president that we have coming in. And so anyone that would like to get a little bit of a hors d'oeuvre or something up there and have a soft drink, why, that would be a good time to meet our new CWC college president. Should be a nice, fun event. And then at 9 o'clock in the morning here in the council chambers, Crystal Ramsey Dice, she was, as I understand it, the former national president of JC's, is going to be here and meeting folks, and we're trying to get a JC's organization, Junior Chamber of Commerce. I'm way past that age, but I'm certainly plugging it. It's a great organization, and so if you don't have anything going at 9 o'clock in the morning, why, come over. It'll be right after our chit-chat, or the morning buzz, I think we're on for. And so anyone that would like to speak on that as well. So those are just some things that's happening in the community, and I think we're moving forward in a positive way. And thank you for all of your efforts this evening. So I guess if there's no other comments, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded.